Welcome back, everybody. I am at my home garage and I've got me a 65 Chevy here to letter. I'm going to try to do this one a little different. I would like to try to go through kind of step by step of how I do it. I'm lettering the doors, so I'm going to try to take more time with this. Bear with me because I'm not a teacher, but I'll do the best I can. I know some people would want to know some of this because I do, so I'm going to try to pass it on. But hang on here. Just a nice old work truck, perfect for the patina lettering I'm gonna be putting on it. 4-wheel drive, short bed. It's just a nice little truck. Alright, I went ahead and cleaned this off, which this doesn't really matter. It's not going to have no wax on it or nothing like that, but just knocked some of the dirt and some of the loose that may affect the painting, which this will be a patina job. Let's look at the truck. It's patinaed itself, but this will be a like a rough looking, like a patina lettering that you've probably seen before. So that's what I'm going to do on this too. And I'm going to try a little bit of a different technique. I did it on the cans. If you haven't seen the video where I did the cans for Corey Wheat, and you watch it, the way I did it was I thinned my paint with some clear to make the paint a little bit more transparent, which I'll show you all that here in a little bit. Getting ahead of myself. But I have a vinyl machine from the days when I used to do some stickers here and there, but I still use it for a plotter. I find some lettering that's close to what I want, and it's a good thing that I can show the client what they want to, so that it's a good visual aid for them to see what they want, and it's good for me just to get a base of the kind of the style of lettering I'm going after. So I've got some big rolls of paper. I just put it in there just like a roll of vinyl, and my cutter, you take the blade out and you got an ink pen attachment, so you put that in there and it just plots it out. I've never been able to plot it out to where the lettering comes out perfect. Don't just feed them back and forth, the paper moves in there and it gets all wonky. But most times this is just a rough sketch, because as you can see, I've already done the other side, but the lighting's really bad, so I chose this side to be the one I'm going to show you on. But I usually have to go back and change a lot of stuff, like right here on the eye, the dot on the eye went down way into the actual letter, so I had to redraw everything. So I'm pretty much doing it by hand anyways. This is just a good base to start from. So the first thing is just to get this thing centered, which I like using magnets if I can. It's easier to move than the tape is. But get her somewhat eyeballed where it needs to be, and I'll have to run back and forth to get measurements. Ooh, that's too far. Way too far. 4 3/4. Somewhere. And with this, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, because when you're brushing it, you're going to go past or short stroke it even. So, and it's going to be patinaed, so it ain't going to be perfect anyways. But get it as close as possible. Which this side, I'm actually extending it a little bit. I've tried to put a drop shadow in here, but it did not come out right, so I have to just do that freehand, which I was going to anyways. I'll just brush it on and go like that. But on this side, I'm going to give me some room, so that way it doesn't look like it's completely offset to one side. So that's pretty close. And it was 7.5. Tall, right there. Ooh, it's way wrong. pretty close. That's pretty close. It's pretty close. Go this way just a touch. And I moved it up at the same time. Much better. Much better. 9/16. Ah, way too high. I knew I moved it. Didn't know I moved it that much, so. There we go. But then once you get it set, you do have to tape it, because I'll show you how I transfer it. In the transfer process, a lot of times it will move. So I go ahead and put some tape on it for security. A lot of times you just got to set back to eyeball it, because nobody's going to be taking a tape measure to it. You just got to go with what looks correct. And excuse my squeaky stool. Alright, I use, this is pretty much carbon paper, but it's, I think it's sorrel transfer paper. So one side's got the actual color that transfers. You can see where I've done a bunch of stuff with it. And the other side's kind of dull looking. You take this side and you wipe it, and you see it's like chalk comes off of it. But that will transfer this image to this metal. And I'm using blue because it's really dull to see on this red. So if I, once it's done, which I'm going to scuff it when it's done, but sometimes you don't have time or something, so sometimes the transfer stays on there. You want it to be very subtle where nobody will notice. So you take your magnets again, slide this up under the back. And just draw it out. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's just a guesstimate, just to give you a rough idea. It's the same concept as like a pounce wheel and a pounce pad, where you're just taking a little roller and cutting little holes in it and then pouncing chalk on it. I've got all that stuff too, but it doesn't really work out. If I'm doing something really big, I use it. But if I'm just doing like doors, it doesn't make sense for me to use. Now, if I had an electronic pouncer, that may be different, because it's be a whole lot faster. But taking them little wheels to do all this curves, it's just not for me. This works out way better. Oops. Try not to rip your paper. And check periodically, make sure you did something, which it looks good. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll show you once it's done, once I get everything transferred. Guessing that truck was green at one time. Oh no! And that's what you don't want to happen. Dang. We're good.
Alright, welcome back. It is now a couple days later. I had some other stuff I had to get done. Had a sign that I painted a few years ago that needed some touch-up work done, so I went and done it last night. I did not record it because I was in a hurry trying to get it done, but I did not get it done. It got dark on me. So I'm going to go back today, and I'll probably bring you all along to get it done. I may put it in this video also. But I'm going to mix up my white here. I kind of want a dirtier, darker white. So I'm just going to come up with some kind of brew here to get me kind of what I'm looking for. This truck's is a 65, so I want it to look like it was done in the 70s or something, so I want it to look pretty old, pretty worn down. So I got some polar white, I got some ivory, and I got some gray. The gray is just going to be to kind of knock it down a little bit, make it a little darker. This ivory will make it dirty, look like a dirty white, like it's sun faded real bad. Looks like I'm about due for some more ivory. Just put a couple drops of gray in there. See what kind of brew we come up with. Thing too you got to think about is whenever you put these colors on your panel, on your whatever you're painting, if you put that on a darker color, it's going to look like a bright white. So that's, you got to think about that beforehand too, of how is it actually going to look on there. Because I put some gray on a green panel one time and it turned out almost purple. It just didn't get the look I was going for. So then I had to keep tinting until I got to get the right look, because the base color changes everything. So sometimes you gotta think about that beforehand. That's better. I think we can make that work. And I gotta find my clear coat too, because I need to make this transparent. And another trick I seen some of the older guys do for patina is throw a little sand in it, because whenever you're brushing it, that sand will have a high spot, and then when you go back through and scuff everything off, it takes the sand, that high spot, out, so your base color will show through, almost like the paint's pitted a little bit. It gives it a real cool look. But it's got regular one-shot clear. It may not look clear, but it really is. It dries clear. The goal you're trying to get is where this will be almost like a candy, where it goes on real thin. Then the more coat you put on it, the more coverage you get, because you want it to go on real thin, just so that background will show through a little bit, which I'm probably going to have more than that. I probably put too much other color in here. I won't run out though, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's better. And you're supposed to put some flattening paste in this too, so where you get the to where it's already flat and you don't have to scuff it. But I'm gonna have to go back and scuff this because this is gonna be very, very, very shiny, which we want the dull look. So, but this paint being thin, that'd be easier to get that look. All right, I threw a little bit of sand in there. I didn't put a lot because I really don't know. I've done it once before and it turned out fine, but this is a little bigger project, so we're just gonna roll with that. And I am gonna put a little bit of hardener in it because the last time I used it, it just didn't seem like it dried fast enough. Because that clear in there really keeps it sticky for a while. So I'm just gonna try to put a couple drops in here. About all I think it's going to need. You don't want to go overboard because then it takes a long time for it to dry. The more hardener you use doesn't mean it dries faster. It sounds like it would, but it will not. Alright, we're going to get the painting.
Alright. I've already done the other side. This is kind of, this is going to be, because I wanted to see how it was going to flow, how everything was going to work. And the other side is very rough. As you can see in the beginning of the video, it's real textured. It's got a lot of roughness, paint checks and stuff in it. So this side's going to be smoother, so it's going to be faster. So I wanted to be able to do this for you all. I probably will speed it up once I get probably the B or some of it done. I may just go ahead and speed the video up and I don't know. Sometime I want somebody to comment if you want me to do a full-length video type of thing, because it's going to be a long video. But if you want to see how real-time type of deal, but I'm going to do some of these real-time. I may go ahead and do the Bixler in real time, then I'll speed it up for the other stuff because it takes a little longer. But the big letters go pretty quick. So I'm palleting it in the cup. Usually I do it on my paper, but with this you can just take your brush and just palette against the edge of the cup. Some of that paint's already dry in there because I've already done the other side. Get it paletted up in your brush. Get some of the sand in there too. And wipe a little of the excess off because you don't want a whole lot, because you want it to look somewhat old. And when you're doing lettering, whichever side you go on, you want to curve your brush to where it's heavy on the side that you want a crisp line. Because I want a crisp line on that outside edge, so I'm leaning toward the outside edge. I just got a little bit of pressure on the outside of that brush to go down through there. This way, you do the opposite. You want a little bit of pressure on the inside of the brush. Because most lettering, you want a two-stroke line on your lettering. Sometimes it's like you're doing some kind of script, like a smaller script or something, you can do just one stroke. But most big lettering, you want at least two strokes in there. Good coverage that way and all that. And then when I get to the end, I twist the brush to get it smaller, because you don't want that big fan down here, so you twist it, and that makes the hairs twist up and gives you a smaller. Then you can twist it a little bit. If I had more paint here, it'd work a little better, but twist it around to get it going down the side there. And doing the patina stuff takes a whole lot longer because it is artistic version of lettering. You want to actually make it look old, so it does take a lot longer because you're taking your time trying to make it look a certain way. Or if this was just all done shiny paint, you can just go quick, load it up real heavy and go quick, and it's a whole lot faster. Then some places it is going to be heavier, but if you look at patina lettering, what some of the stuff that's still there is where the sign painter did go heavy on it. That's where his first stroke was at, is going to be what's still on there because it's so loaded up with paint. Then I go back once it tacks up a little bit and just keep going back and forth, and that takes that extra paint out of there. And smooth up my edges a little bit to give it kind of the see-through look there. Touch this up a little bit. Something like that. And some of these places like here where you can see through, I'm gonna leave that because that just gives it a good look to and the less scuffing I've got to do, which I may not scuff. The other side turned out really good, so I may not scuff it as much as I think I'm going to. Something you want to think about too is always try to have the edges kind of crisp and clean, because the sign painter that's where he would have started. He would have done the edges first, so it'd be thicker on the edges. It's always the center that comes out of a lot of that patina lettering. So always try to do the edges crisper. And I didn't like this. I'll have to get rid of some of the paint. I didn't like how this B was shaped on the other side, so I modified the design a little, made it a little thicker.
I think made it look a little better. Stand out a little more. Something like that. Now I actually put too much white, too much color in this. I should have put some more clear in it to have a little more transparent, but it's working fine. But I'd like to be able to see through it a little more. But the look is kind of where I want it, so I'm okay with it. And the best thing about this is you can just keep going, keep doing different stuff to it to get the look you want. Because it's not an exact science. Everybody does it different. I used to just paint it on real light and then just take a scuff pad to it and knock it down. That's a lot of my old patina lettering. That's what I did. It turned out fine, looked good. But then I was watching some YouTube videos, and a guy was an older sign painter, and he was doing it like this, put clear in it. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So, which I knew a guy, Jack Lindenberger, I think's his name, out of Evansville. I used to go to panel jams with him, and he always puts drop shadows on his pinstripes. So not always, but sometimes some of his fine art panels, which are very, very nice. He just takes the clear and puts a drop of black in it for a drop shadow to where the stripes actually look like they're floating off the panel. It is just beautiful. So I'm gonna do that for the shadow on this, except I'm gonna put some dark, like a maroon or something, in the clear and do the drop shadow on this letter. And the drier these brushes get, the harder they are to control. So that's just what makes this whole job a little bit more difficult. But you just take your time and do what you can. And let the vehicle or whatever you're painting work with you. Because like where the paint's chipped off, if this was painted and like whenever it was new or something, which this is all red oxide primer, it wouldn't have been new like that, but the paint would have chipped off, you would see whatever's through there. So make sure you leave all that to add to the patina, because you want it to look like it was an old work truck from when it was new. So the trick is just to think about all that stuff while you're painting it. I ain't gonna put much of this. if you see some of the paint built up, just take your brush back over it after it's time the brush is kind of dry, and it'll smear it out or kind of dull it down a little bit. And like right there, it's stuck and just kind of pulled some of it off. And there you go. Well, a little bit more. Alright, there's the bee. Let me get you in closer here. So there's the look we're going for. You can see that's, there you go. You can see kind of some of the brush strokes, some of where I left it through, and there's the, like where the paint's chipped. I left the green showing through. Sorry about the lighting, it's not, there it goes. You see some of the green popping through like right there. So there you could see some of the blue of the land right through there. But that's the look we're going for. So I'm gonna speed the rest of this up for you. Put a little music on and knock this critter out. And y'all can make fun of me if you want to. I took me just a metal chair and cut the legs of it off. Sometimes some of these lettering jobs are pretty low, and this saves the back, the legs, the everything. It doesn't save your butt because it still hurts to sit on a metal chair, but and it's a pain to get on here. But once you're there, you can kick back and relax and go to paint. Oh, this is patented too, so don't try to copy them.
first color on, well, the main color, I guess you could say. And I tried to get it. Camera doesn't do it justice. I mean, it looks really good. You can see the shine up there. That's something that'll definitely have to go away. But there it is for this this part of it. And I'm gonna get the colors out, mix up the drop shadow, then we'll put that on. All right. The other side, the red, has just been completed. So I'm gonna get it on this side. And this paint, once you put the hardener in it and all that, it wants to dry, start setting up in the cup quickly. So I had to put a little reducer in this side. So the first couple pulls are probably gonna be pretty wet. But you'll still get the idea of the concept here. Get this brush loaded so maybe it won't be too drippy wet. So we'll start here. No, that's perfect. But the goal I'm trying to do here is replicate it like the old school, like a block shadow behind it. The rest of it's just going to be a drop shadow, which this is a drop shadow initially, but I want it to be more bold where it stands out a little more. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to make some of this pretty fat on these big letters. Because since this part here's pretty big, I want this one to be big also. Not necessarily the same size, but just a little bit bigger. And I'm still twisting my brush to get it to go smaller there. That one actually went a little too big, but it looks pretty good. You're essentially doing the same thing as the lettering, same stroke style, everything like that, but you're just doing half the work pretty much. It's still going to take you quite a bit of time. hope that dries. It was just a little bit of mineral spirits. I may have really messed that up. Let's see if I can fix that later. And you'll see this is a little bit darker on there, the drop shadow. That's because this paint it's still extremely transparent, but it just, I don't know what it is about it, but it doesn't matter what you do, you can't see through it. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna take a little bit of a scuff rag to it and just knock it down, and it doesn't really matter. The white is what you want to look dull. The drop shadow is just a drop shadow, so it doesn't really matter. So you can do it however you want there, but that's just how I'm doing that, and that's what this whole thing is. I guess you could say I'm teaching, but this is how I do it. It's a guy once told me years ago I worked for. There's 4 ways to do things. There's your way, my way, the right way, and the wrong way. So you do it however you want to, and if it works, go for it. All right, there you have it. It's just rinse and repeat. So we'll just keep going on the whole way here.
Here it is, finished up, drop shadowed, everything like that. And very tiny signature there. So there, right there, you can see the shine of it. I'm gonna try to take that away here in the next couple days. I'm gonna let this set up real good, then I'm gonna scuff it up a little bit, or I may leave it. I don't know yet. You'll see here at the end of the video what I end up doing, but that's gonna be it for now. Oh, I'll show you the other side real quick. Here's the other side. It's a little bit more beat up, but it gets a really good look. I really like this side. And signed on this side too. But there it is. I'll probably be a couple days, but for you it'll just be a second. Alright, we are back on, well, I guess whatever day this is. Anyways, the next day, I believe today's Sunday, there we go. I'm just taking a red scuff pad that I've ripped apart, and it does have a little bit of a shine. I would leave it, but it's almost too shiny, so I definitely want to knock some of the dull down, but I can't get it too much of this scuff pad on the collar's actual truck, because it's oxidized. I mean, I'll take the oxidization off, whatever you want to say it. Man, made a new word right there. Anyways, I don't want to mess up the paint. So we're just going to fold it up to where you get down to a point and just kind of rub on it a little bit just to scratch it up and dull it down some. And if you get on the paint in between if you get on the vehicle's paint in here, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to tell a difference. But it gets out here, you can actually see it a little bit. You may not be able to on camera, but it's a little bit lighter, and that's what I don't want. So you just got to be careful. Go right up to the edge, and it may just even have a shiny edge on it, because you don't want to go too far. And then like here inside the letter, it doesn't matter, so we can just go over the whole thing there. And there's a piece of the sand. Let me get you out of here. There's where a piece of the sand was. And see, when you pop it out, focus, there you go, it gives it texture. And there's another piece right here. See if I can get it out with my fingernail. And it leaves another texture. There's another one. Just kind of chip at it a little bit. And let it refocus here. There it is. So it gives the paint more of a textured look. And when you're scuffing it too, well, wipe off some of the dust, but it gives it a real worn look to it, which is exactly what we want. Alright, that's the end of this one. I'm done with this truck. I'm going to call the guy and tell him to come get it. And I've got another one coming. As soon as this one's out, another one's coming in. So there'll be another video for you there. I did finish painting that sign I told you all about. I'll put pictures on here because I did not record it. It was just, I was in a hurry. Just had to get that thing done as quick as I could. I had pizza waiting on me, so I had to get it done.
Well, I'm heading out. I just appreciate y'all watching this one. Hope y'all learned something, and I hope I was a good enough teacher to teach you something. So if you would, just come back for the next one. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It does help everything when you do, and I'd sure appreciate it if you did. So I'm out, and just keep your brushes wet and your welder hot, and we'll see you next time.